Everyone for joining. Welcome you guys. We're going to talk about the product design and manufacturing collection. As Ms. Ashley said, we have Mr. Tad here on the line with us. So we will kill our cameras now so you guys aren't stuck looking at us the whole time. And we can get into the presentation. So again, you guys are in listen only mode. If you have any questions, you can enter those in the chat area or the questions area there, and Mr. Tad will handle those as we go throughout. And then when we switch it over to him, I'll take over the question side, and we'll be happy to answer any questions you guys have. So as we're getting into the product design and manufacturing collection, the future of making anything, the future of making everything, and the future is here, right? So we've heard that before, the future of making. Why is that? Why are we constantly talking about that? And, it's because the products that are currently being introduced to the market, they force us to rethink how we imagine, how we design, and of course, how we manufacture those. How easily can they be maintained when something goes down? If a part wears out, we've got to get to it and repair it. How quickly can that be done, or is it better to replace the whole thing? So those types of rapid prototyping issues present itself in the industries a bunch. And so that's where the product design and manufacturing collection comes in. And it's got an entire suite of products to help us from beginning sketching concepts, 2D sketching, 3D sketching, all the way through manufacturing and out the door as far as marketing as well. So there's radical changes in the way things are designed, and that brings more challenges to the businesses. And we hear a lot from customers about looking for ways to innovate, how they struggle to find more time for those new designs versus just building off what they've currently got with their current clientele. So customers, consumers, they're looking for more performance, which requires a complete understanding of how designs operate before they are built. So before we get it out to the shop floor, how can we assemble it digitally? Is it going to work? So we're making those digital prototypes instead of those physical prototypes, which cost more money. Are we getting the most out of the machinery or the most out of the machines? Do we have bottlenecks that we need to look at in the processes? What is slowing us down from getting this out to market today versus 6 weeks from today? And what are ways we can win more business or gain reoccurring businesses from our customers? Because repeat customers are the best. So the product design collection, this solution spans across the entire design and manufacturing platform, from the sales and bidding side through design and engineering, through production, and to the sales and service and maintenance side, also into data management. And so with that, you have Inventor, which is the core product, Inventor Professional. We have Inventor Nesting, Inventor Cam, formerly Inventor HSM, have Inventor Tolerance Analysis, Inventor Nastran for full-blown simulation, Factory Design Utilities for Inventor and AutoCAD, Recap Pro, 3ds Max, Fusion 360, Navisworks Managed, and Vault Basic for data management. So this platform of the product design and manufacturing collection covers the entire design and engineering platform. So this collection of technologies enables us to connect on that single design platform, automating processes, accelerating production. From the innovation side, it clears time for more innovation to take advantage of the tools that are purpose-built to have a positive impact on the way we design and make those products. So we can see them on screen. We can test them on screen. We can simulate, run analysis on these. Connecting, we can run the entire product development process powered by Inventor using 2D documentation, 3D documentation, simulation, analysis, multi-axis CAM tools, and more. Automate, we can take and leverage data, AI, cloud technology to reduce iterations, generative designs, optimize tolerances, solve complex engineering problems and quickly create production-ready designs. We can also enable smart manufacturing using familiar CAD interfaces. We're doing all this right inside of Inventor, right inside of AutoCAD, and automatically update design changes downstream and simplify those machining workflows, reducing production times and waste. So as we start looking here on the design and engineering side, we're going to dive into the mechanical design. And mechanical design is built around the 2D and 3D. 2D AutoCAD, 2D Inventor, and 3D parametric design inside of Inventor. Flexible modeling changes and tools for parametric and freeform design. As the model updates, the drawing updates, vice versa. If we've got this Inventor model, we're placing it in AutoCAD. it updates. If we've got it, we're placing on the Inventor 2D sheets, it updates. Everything is still there. But we have those automated tools for specialized modeling types such as sheet metal, structural frames, bolted connections, mold creations, CAM, reducing those repetitive tasks and quickly reconfiguring parts using iLogic, which is rules-based design built right inside of Inventor. And we also maintain those associative links to those files from other CAD systems using AnyCAD. So if we're placing a SolidWorks, a Pro-E, a Solid Edge, a STEP, or an IGES file inside of an Inventor assembly, and we keep that associative link, if we get an updated model, it's automatically updated inside of Inventor. We just right-click, say update, and the changes appear. And there's also tools for creating and authoring of BIM objects and custom architectural fabrication. While most 3D CAD packages encourage companies to make that move from 2D to 3D completely, in many instances, the best solution is a combination of both. If you've got really good AutoCAD users, why take that away from them? We can place those 3D Inventor models right inside of AutoCAD, and they can do the detailing and annotation inside of AutoCAD. Keeping those two connected. If the Inventor model updates, we can update it there inside of AutoCAD. So you're not having to make that complete jump to 3D to utilize the entire suite of products here. That rules-based design inside of Inventor, as we call iLogic, this has been around since the 2009 and 2010 product cycle, when it was an add-on from the old Autodesk Labs, which was their beta testing environment. It's now part of the software. It has been since the 2011 releases. And this is one of the most powerful and effective ways to save on time when designing models. We define the rules quickly to reconfigure designs to meet demands from customers or customization of products or more iterations. And you don't have to be a programmer to be able to do this. So this form here that we're looking at on screen, this was built inside of Inventor. So all of this is coming from Inventor. It's not external, looking right inside the software. This specific conveyor, we can control the length, width, and height just by typing in the information. If we want to see the chute on the south end, it's true or false. True, it's displayed. False, it's off. And then on the legs and rollers down below in the bottom of the form, that's a slider bar. So the legs, there can be 2, 4, 6, or 8, and the rollers, we can see 0, 3, 6, 9, or 12. And so we can control that, and those aspects, the length, width, and height, we can manually type what we want it to be. The legs and rollers, we have a slider bar. So we can minimize the user input to only show, okay, well, we only offer this in legs of 2, 4, 6, or 8, or 10 or 12 if we're going to go up that many. Or on the roller side, we only offer this in 3, 6, 9, and 12 roller counts. If we go more than that, the software won't update it, and a message will pop up on the screen and tell us we're outside the parameters. And we can customize what that message says. But we can also control materials. We can control appearances. So if we're going to go to 3,000 millimeters high on this, maybe we want to change the material. So if it's 1,500, we want aluminum 6061. If it's 3,000 millimeters, we want to go to stainless steel. We can have those controlled right there, and as you pick something there in the form, it automatically updates the model in the background, which if that model is being used on a drawing, the drawings are automatically updated if they're open or the next time they're viewed. So that rules-based design is built there inside of Inventor to help with that assembly reconfigurations and efficient design reuse. Another part of the engineering tools is the Customizable Content Library. And if you've used Inventor before, you know Inventor has a built-in content library. And with the 2022 products, it's now up over 1.2 million standard parts inside those libraries. Now, you don't have to have all the libraries turned on. You don't have to use all the libraries, but the components are theirs. So from standard nuts, bolts, washers, to W-beams, I-beams, T-shapes, unequal, equal leg angles, rectangular, square tubing, and then we get into the generator side where we've got shaft and spur gear generators, V-belt generators, drum brake calculators, bearing calculators. We've got machining preparations for welds, bolted generating tools. All of these are part of the core Inventor package. When we look at the collaboration side, how are we communicating the designs with teams internally and externally with customers that are not on the network? Well, the shared views inside of Inventor, Vault, and AutoCAD enables you to easily collect those work in progress feedback options from anyone, anywhere on any device, whether it's a laptop, whether it's a mobile device. You create this shared view. You have to send out the invite to someone to look at it. That user receives the invite, they click on it, it opens up on the Autodesk viewer website. It's a secure link that you have established. Only the people you send the link to can access it. They can explode the assembly. They can section the assembly. They can redline it, measure it, mark it up, whatever they want to do. And any changes they make to it as far as redlining markups are stored in that shared view, and you get to see them on your end as well. So you can communicate and collaborate back and forth there without having to share the CAD model itself. You're just sharing a view of the model. When we look at the simulation side, most 3D CAD packages have some sort of entry-level FEA studies that you can use to solve for stress and deflection, and some for safety factors as well. But are you getting all that you need out of that design? Are those results telling the entire story? Well, Autodesk Inventor Nesting offers that advanced simulation study that are set up, solved, and observing results without leaving Inventor itself. Thermal, vibration, nonlinear buckling, all of that is available right there inside of Inventor when you've got the product design and manufacturing collection. Effective collaboration between mechanical and electrical engineering teams can be challenging from time to time. But what if we could make those two talk? What if AutoCAD Electrical and Inventor could talk together? Well, they can. With the electromechanical link inside of Inventor and inside of AutoCAD Electrical, you set that up, you tie these two files together, the routing, the wire harnesses, the nail boards, the schematics, they automatically sync between the two. One changes on one side, you update it on the other. And that's a live link between the two, automatically updates. Inventor and AutoCAD both provide a full set of documentation tools to get accurate information out to the shop floor, out to manufacturing, out the door faster, whether it's in a 2D drawing or a 3D model, right? So there's a growing demand for engineering organizations to get design data to manufacturing more efficiently. How can we get the data to them that they can use now without having to redesign it in their programming or on their CNC side? And so this is where a lot of the MBD, the model-based definitions, those come in because we can apply these dimensions at the 3D model. We can apply tolerances, finishes on faces, dimensions, and we can send this directly to the CNC programmer. He can just plug it in to the machine and start making the component. Tolerance analysis tool that is part of the product design and manufacturing collection. There's always a sense of accomplishment when everything fits perfectly, when that assembly goes together perfectly, whether in the shop or in the field. But at what cost? Are we over designing it to make it fit like that? Are we causing issues, delays by over designing it to make sure it fits? Well, using those tolerances, that can have a significant impact on cost and quality. As far as how much time it takes, the money it takes, the unnecessary high quality finish if we don't need it. Well, the tolerance analysis tool is designed to help Inventor users make informed decisions while specifying those manufacturing tolerances. It's CAD embedded, again, directly inside of Inventor. It's 1D tolerance analysis software that helps understand the impact of mechanical fit and performance based off of the cumulative dimensional variations that we provide as users. When we look at the nesting side of things, we have the Inventor Nesting software. It's embedded inside of Inventor again. We're not leaving the software. And this helps optimize yield from raw material. These studies can be created and updated to reflect any changes to the design. You can easily compare the nesting studies to optimize efficiency, reduce costs, and you can also use Inventor Cam for cutting path generation. Again, right inside of Inventor. When we look at the factory design, and this is probably my favorite part of the product design and manufacturing collection, is this allows us to quickly lay out a factory floor. Whether it's conveyors, whether it's building components, whether it's ducting components, cable trays, we can quickly lay this out using the standard assets that come with the factory utilities. Coming up with that great design is just the beginning, right? So then we want to make it the most efficient way possible. Improving that efficiency during processes, production, site planning, time to time between stations, So it's easy to take a 3D model and just generate the factory floor. But we can actually take that over to AutoCAD Mechanical and optimize those machining stations. And so we can put a time on it takes from one station to station 2 to station 3 to station 4. And we can say, all right, we're going to use a forklift to go from 1 to 2 and it takes 30 seconds. We're going to use people to go from 2 to 3 and it takes 2 minutes. And we can start running these optimizations and we can see what we're getting. Are we using the right amount of product here? Are we getting the right amount of product down the bottleneck? Or what are we causing here? What can we clean up? All of those things in that factory layout allows us to do that. So we can analyze those processes, optimize that material flow. We can check for clashes and interferences, and also helps us reduce time. When we look at design reviews and large-scale work-throughs, those can happen in any CAD system. We can rotate a model around, we can zoom in, zoom out. But what if we needed to bring other components in? What if we wanted to do clash detection? That's where Navisworks shines. And so with the Product Design and Manufacturing Collection, we also have Navisworks Managed. And Navisworks is built not only for design reviews and walkthroughs, but also for clash management between models that have been imported from all CAD systems. All CAD systems, whether it's Revit, whether it's Inventor, whether it's 3ds Max, whether it's SolidWorks, CATIA, Pro-E, doesn't matter. We can import it into Navisworks. We can locate it where it's supposed to be, and we can start trying to move our new machinery in the building. We can import cloud data and make sure everything is going to fit. Can we get this new piece of machinery in this area? Nope. Then we've got to start moving something, or we've got to move it in smaller pieces. So it allows us to do that type of clash detection there. Again, Navisworks Managed is part of our suite. On the sales side, we get back to the professional rendering and animation side. And screen captures or models are helpful to know what it looks like. And we all know it's better than a 2D model, but what if you need more than just a screenshot? What if you need a full animation? What if we need lights and shadows, excuse me, and you need a software that's 100% built for compelling visual effects? That is where 3ds Max comes in, and that is part of our design collection. This is the perfect tool for creating those high quality and cinematic quality videos. All right, so now let's flip over here and take a look at some of the factory utilities. So here inside of Inventor, I've started a new factory layout here. Once you have the factory utilities installed, inside the templates, you have your own standard factory templates here that you can adjust, you can modify, you can create your own, or you can use the defaults. So we're just going to start with a blank factory template here, and we have an asset browser, and it has different categories over here. So we've got architectural components, automotive components, building utilities, conveyors, point cloud data, retail, robot, safety equipment, user assets if you published your own, favorites if you created any favorites or selected any to be favorites, you can move them down here to the favorites location for easy access. But we'll take a look at a conveyor here. We're going to quickly create a conveyor line. And underneath the conveyors, we've got accumulators, we've got belt conveyors, chute conveyors, cleated, floor, grippers, pallets, sliders, sorters, tray conveyors, we've got all these different ones. And so we'll take a look at a roller conveyor and the different components that are available here. So these are out of the box, right? These are already here. There are several components in the asset library that have to be downloaded. They're cloud assets, they don't get installed, but the majority of the ones here do. And so when you want to start just dropping in a component, it's as easy as drag and drop. So in this case here, if we wanted to start with an incline, so we will just left click to place this once, and we can right click around and or left click and drag here if we want to adjust it. The orientation, right click and done, and it's ready for one. So we'll take a look at this one real quick. The lower height is 30 inches down here at the bottom. It's 145.4 inches long, and the upper height is 78.7 inches. So that's the default out of the box. And we can adjust those. But we can also just start bringing in some components. So notice these little green dots, and these are connector points. And so when you publish a component or you're placing a component from the asset library, they all have multiple connector points. Some have 2, some have 4, depending on how they were published. And it helps with the orientation. So if I'm looking at the incline I put in here, gearbox is here on this side. So maybe I want to keep the motor and everything on the other side. So if I use this one, it's going to put the motor on this side. So we'll just move it around and see those connectors pop in. And this is where it becomes almost like playing with Legos. We're just snapping blocks together at this point. And so we can just snap those. And as we do, the legs are adjusting here, right? So put this one on here. We'll do another one right here. So now we've added 3 or 4 on one side and a couple on the other. And what we'll do now is let's grab one of these. Doesn't matter which component we'll grab. So we'll grab this first straight piece we put in here, and we'll see the height is 78.7. Well, you guys told me the height is supposed to be 84. So we'll change that to 84. And then very quickly it'll go out and it'll update these other pieces to be 84. And so now if we look at this one, it's up to 84 here as well. And if I say, you know what, the lower height is not 30, it's supposed to be 36. So we can adjust this one, and these adjust here too. And everything is snapped to the floor. So it's adjusting from the floor coming up. So all of these little smart items are right here, and everything is in there. So I've saved a few of these down into my favorites to make it easy to work with here. So we'll come in here and we can grab another incline right here, and watch, this one will adjust and go the other way. Now it's flat, right? So we'll grab this and say, all right, well, the upper height on this one is supposed to be 168. So we'll grab this one and let it update, and now it goes to 168. So it adjusts, it puts in there, it has the default values, and then we can adjust with what we want. Now I don't really need that piece in there, just wanted to show it would grow like we needed it to. We've got curved conveyors. So if we had to, if we're doing this layout and we had to go around a piece of machinery or an office or something of that nature, a beam that we couldn't get by, we had to move around. So we've got these different options here, and these come in 90-degree increments. Well, say this one here, I wanted to change it to a 45, and so now I can change it to a 45. And again, if we start bringing any of these components back in, they just snap right to it. And so very quickly we can just start with the layout here. And if we have a riser, you know, if we want to use a robot to pull components off of this at the end as they're coming down the line here, and then we wanted to check the radius of our robot to make sure it's got range for it before we're going to line this up. And so we can drop these components in, and I can see the range that my robot has here in the little sphere. And so I know that, hey, I can move this out some because I've got overreach on this side. So I can drag this out of this way, and it will adjust. And I can kind of get a visual there. That might be a little bit too much. You've still got your standard constraints, joints that you can use to tie these components down, or you can just snap them to the floor and start moving them around. You can copy and paste components. So if you needed to reuse any, so if I wanted to grab these 3 right here, copy, paste these guys right here, and they're still connected together. And then I could grab this one and move it and say, let's snap it right there. And so just dragging and dropping, and now we've made a 90-degree turn with all of this right in this area here. So very easy to work with. You can publish your own components. We've got building equipment, we've got safety equipment, we've got handrails, guardrails, forklifts that we could show in here, platforms that we could bring and drop in here. All of these that we could quickly create a factory layout to mimic where our design is going to go, or if we wanted to look at processing. And so, hey, we're having an issue getting from point A to point B. Is there a way we could streamline this? And so we can lay this all out very quickly. You know, in a matter of seconds, I can have this entire assembly layout done instead of just talking over it and taking my time. So it's very easy. It's part of the collection, and it is extremely easy to work with. Publish your own assets. Once you have your own assets published, they go into the user assets folder here. You can share this out with other users, so this can be on a network location as well. And so with that, we're going to switch it over here to Mr. Tad, make him the presenter. And he is going to take over and discuss some of the production and CAM side and generative designs.
Mark, thank you for that.
Yes,
You
yes,
can hear
sir.
me okay, I assume, and you can see my screen.
Yes, sir. You are good to go.
Good, thank you. We're running, I guess we got a little aggressive saying this would be about a half hour, so forgive me if I run over your time. It is being recorded as a reminder in case you need to bolt. On the CAM side, again, keeping with the story that Mark has presented, the software, the product design and manufacturing collection includes CAM software, computer-aided manufacturing. Um, it installs and it adds a ribbon to your Inventor user interface, and we offer several different training options, all company specific based on your machines and your needs. But the software is extremely powerful. You're working within Inventor. You're working on Inventor models or assemblies or parts, and you can produce operations or toolpath for typical milling machines from 2.5 axis all the way up to 5 axis, including 4 axis rotary. You can produce code and programs for lathes, including your traditional 2-axis Z and X, and live tooling is supported both radially and axially. You can also do laser plasmon. Mark touched a little bit earlier, Inventor Nesting utility. That is an add-on to Inventor included with your collection that will allow you to nest parts, as he mentioned, and then we can use CAM here, remaining inside Inventor, and put toolpath on those nested profiles. So the software is extremely powerful. It has adaptive clearing, which is a wonderful tool to help with tool life. A quick way to describe that might be that it doesn't plunge into corners if you're machining a rectangular shaped pocket. It won't plunge the tool into those corners. It'll use it more like a butter knife, where it will slowly work its way radially into the corners, maybe producing a little bit more G code, but conserving tool life, which is really where the money is, because those tools aren't cheap. Also, we have generative design, and just real quickly in the upper right hand corner here, you'll see that we moved from Inventor into Fusion. Fusion is yours if you have the collection. We would encourage you to stick your toe in the water with it. It's basically a web-based solution, much like Inventor, but you can use it at the office, you can use it at home, you can use it in a hotel room. Really doesn't matter where you are, as long as you have access to the internet. Your files are stored on the cloud, again, to be accessed anywhere. It does contain revision control. And in that Fusion tool, it's just loaded with functionality, but I'm focusing here because of time, excuse me, on generative design. That's a part of Fusion. And it allows you, rather than to build parts like Mark mentioned earlier, also maybe over-engineering things a bit, just to make sure. Generative design allows you to establish rules or parameters, such as what kind of load does this part need to have? Do you want it simple so that it can be manufactured on a 3-axis mill, or are you okay with it being manufactured on a 5-axis machine? Or maybe it's not using subtractive manufacturing, but instead using additive, meaning maybe the part's being built on a 3D printer using different composites and different kinds of materials and plastics. So you establish those rules using generative design, and then the software calculates everything in the cloud, so you're free to go back to work. And when it's done working in the cloud, it gives you a little thumbs up that your results are ready, and you can then go in and explore those results. It's a very productive tool where it can really help reduce the engineering of a particular part, making them lighter. We see this a lot in the racing industry, or as you know, shipping and so forth. Stronger, lighter parts, maybe even exposing a design to you that you didn't even think of. Hey, listen, we can do this on a 3D printer instead of doing it on a machine tool. So you get a lot of really good feedback from the generative design. So again, running over just a bit, let me first start out on my screen. I hope you can see it. I am in Inventor. This is the Inventor Cam. Here is the ribbon that it adds. So if you're an Inventor user, you're used to much of these tools. Inventor Cam simply added a ribbon. And it also adds a cam function in the browser where we can go ahead and produce G-code to machine the part that you've designed. And in this example here, we've even designed part of the machine tool, the table, the clamps, and everything for interference checking and so forth. Excellent simulation tools, so that when you're simulating, we can also show the stock. So you can actually see, you know, maybe a little bit of a pixel eater, I guess you could call it, but it'll go through there and show you what that toolpath is removing. Say, whoa, that's too much stock. You can go in and edit the operations and so forth. But again, by being within the Inventor environment and the product design and manufacturing collection, it's all associative. So if I go back over here now and go to this model, and that sketch, let's go ahead and edit that sketch. And we'll make it a little crazy here. And we'll make this maybe 5 inches instead. So we have a design change. Your programmer, if he's using a different license of Inventor or so forth, when he's on the CAM side, he's going to get notified by a lightning bolt in the upper left corner, and his operations will also be flagged as such. So again, if we look at this horizontal, you can see that that change has impacted my toolpath. So all I need to do is go and tell the software to go ahead and regenerate all that work that I've already done and recalculate the toolpath based on this new design change. And real quickly, you can see that that operation has changed. In fact, all of the operations have changed because of that. So again, the beauty with the product PDMC, product design manufacturing collection, is the associativity. Drawings would be updated, piece parts updated in the assembly. You can update the manufacturing model, reproduce G-code, post-process right here. I got to adaptive, so maybe I won't just for time. I'll show it on the other side. And again, I briefly discussed Fusion and Generative Design. I toggled my screen over, and we're now in the Fusion software. And like I mentioned earlier, this tool does about everything under the sun. You can design here. You can do some pretty fancy rendering, produce animations. Mark mentioned simulation. It's part of Fusion. Produce drawings like you would expect from Inventor users. Produce drawings, produce assemblies, produce piece parts, all that good stuff. And manufacturing also is here. So just a real quick tour of generative design. What I have on the screen, I've color coded, and I'm not designing a model, okay? I'm gonna ask the software to design the model for me. But to do that, I do need to define some parameters. For example, the green here are the preserve parameters. This is the geometry that I need to have specifically. I need these cylinders, they need to be a certain size, I need them to be certain thickness, and so forth. Then we have obstacle geometry, which is the red geometry. And this is where we don't want this new design to interfere with. So green, I need. Red, don't interfere with it. And you can provide offsets also. If you'd like, you could even define a starting shape, but I haven't in this instance. And then you go through the objectives. What is your objective? Well, we want to minimize mass, and we're worried about safety factor. So you, as the user, define this. And then you can also define more parameters. Manufacturing. Are you okay with additive, or do you not want that? You can define materials with additive. What kind of materials are you okay with using on this? What about subtractive or milling? What kind of material do you want to use on that? Stainless, aluminum, what are you good with there? 2-axis machining, lathe work, or die casting might even be something that we could look at. Then you go and you define your loads, and you can see the arrows here on the screen. For example, this is defining gravity. We have some other loads here for constraints. We look at that. These are fixed constraints. You can see the padlock showing up on the screen, meaning don't mess with that, don't move it. And then you can get into torsion and even tension. And we turn this off real quick, and you can see those arrows here defining that. And you can go in and fill in the parameters. What kind of magnitude or force are you looking at, and in what direction or both directions, and so forth. And once you define all these parameters within the generative design workspace, you simply ask the software to go ahead and generate, and it will then send it to the cloud, freeing you up to work and work on those solutions. And for the sake of time, because it does take a while, I've already have some results here that I'd like to show you based on the parameters that I have of 2-axis cutting and the materials and so forth. These are the different results that generative design produced for me. And I can go and I can find the one I want. You can preview any of them. You see here, we're in a preview. Take a look at it, see if this is the one you want. Yes or no, move on to the next one and take a look at that. And then if you find the one you want, you can click on a button. Isn't that great? Just have the button do the work. Click on a button and it will create that design and that part for you so that you can then go to work on it. And again, it does use cloud resources to do that. So for the sake of time, again, this is the part that I picked. Now, from here, we can switch over to manufacturing. I can produce a quick setup, and I want the Z axis. So I'll define the Z axis to be that face. You can see it flip. The origin, so where are we touching off at? Okay, we're going to go ahead and touch off this corner here. So we'll have positive X and positive Y. You can use your mouse and pick any corner you want. You can even pick the center of a circle if you'd like to. You know, that second setup, maybe you put a dowel in there or whatever. Now, from there, we're just going to go ahead and quickly produce a machining operation. I'm doing a face mill operation. I can go to a tool library that's installed with your software. Here's a 2-inch face mill. I can grab that tool. We could spend a lot of time in here also, but any tool can be edited, copied, moved around, and so forth. So let's go ahead and just pick this. I'm just going to hit OK. How's that sound? There we go. We can go ahead and simulate that. And then just one more. We're running out of time, right? But it's still fun. So close this out. let's go ahead and do adaptive. We talked about that a little bit earlier. I'm going to go ahead and select a different tool. See, the tool that I used is now added to this parts library automatically. And you can build your own libraries. Go ahead, inch flat end mill. Looks long enough. We'll find out, won't we? Select that. I can then use these and say, hey, I'd like you to leave a little bit of stock on this because I'm going to come back and finish it. And we'll hit OK. It does its thing. It's calculating, again, maintaining chip load, different depths of cut, doing the pockets for me, and that outside profile based on the stock that I defined earlier. Again, the face mill operation, and then here is the tool coming in to rough out that shape. And imagine writing this by hand, right? So we'll go ahead and let's go ahead and produce some G code. Probably needs to be a mill, right? Look at all the different post processors that are installed. Now, granted, some of these might be things that I've been working on or added, but you literally get dozens and dozens and dozens of post processors. Everybody knows FNUC, right? There's your G code. Thank you, software, for doing a lot of work for me, right? Look at all that. So with really having the product design and manufacturing collection is that last part too, design and manufacture. And we've got manufacturing handled for you also, whether you want to do it under your roof within the Inventor software, or if you're comfortable with clouds, then you can also use Fusion. So what we'll do now is that's pretty much the presentation. Again, just following up or wrapping up here a bit. Unlimited interoperability. Basically, you can make changes anywhere, and those changes are propagated everywhere. Whether it's a nice rendering for marketing, your NC program, or your drawing. So the product design and manufacturing collection is really where you want to be. And again, just to reiterate, here's again all of those different software packages that are included in that. In one purchase and shrink wrapped together are all of these different solutions. And I always like to mention AutoCAD is part of that. Everywhere we go, AutoCAD is in that house, and we know you've got it in there. So AutoCAD electrical and so forth, all those tool sets are not listed here, but they're part of it also. AutoCAD electrical, Auto Plant 3D, all that stuff's in here. So with that, Mark, Ashley, any questions or anything that came up?
None are in the question panel.
Really? We must have really did a good job of that. Any questions, anybody? Fire them out. If not, guess we'll turn it back over to Ashley. She can tell you a little bit about a survey, recording, etc.
Okay, well, thanks guys for the presentation, and thank you all for attending today. Yes, if you think of questions later, you can simply reply to that confirmation or reminder email you received from GoToWebinar. We can get those to the right person to get your questions answered. Once again, a short survey will pop up as we close down, and we are grateful for you to fill that out for us. It just is about 4 questions, I believe. And also a reminder that everyone will receive an email tomorrow with a link for the recording of the presentation today. And I don't see anything else popping in, so we will go ahead and close things for today, but have a great day, everybody.